Hey, entrepreneurs. What's up? What's up? It's Jane Hamill. Hey, by the way, I'm doing this as an audio and a video. So if you want to see the books that I'm talking about today on the YouTubes, check me out over there on fashionbrainacademy.com. Let's go. All right. 5 must-read books for fashion entrepreneurs. One of my very favorite hobbies in life is to order books from the internets or go to a bookstore or a used bookstore and buy books that I don't read. Anybody? Am I the only one that does that? I doubt it. So I have way more than 5 books that I recommend, but I'm starting with these 5 that I've actually been through every word that I really truly believe in. And if you like this episode, I'll make more and tell you the other books that I've actually read that I feel are super, super valuable for clothing and accessories designers or product-based entrepreneurs. Okay. This first one is a new book. It just came out in the past month, probably. And it is by Mindy Martell of The Apparel Mentor. It is called Get It Made. Get It Made, people. And its subhead is Build Your Clothing Line from Idea to Reality. Why do I love this book? Because number one, Mindy Martell wrote it. Mindy knows her shizzle. She knows how to get products made. She's not all like, build it and they will come, fashion industry person. She 100% knows how to get a product made because she owns a factory. Now, there's a few things that I absolutely love about this book, and I'm going to read you a couple of things. If you have the book, I'll link back to all of these, by the way, back on my site at fashionbrainacademy.com/5books1. 5 books like the number 1, because I'm guessing there might be a part 2. Okay, so page 227, she says, buckle up. As a customer in retail world, you might be used to a certain level of service. Businesses design gorgeous websites to attract you. They conduct surveys to find out what you want. Some eager companies host focus groups to really ensure that their message is user-friendly. Once they gain you as a customer, they do everything they can to keep you coming back. And surely you've experienced a time when the proprietor actually acted like the customer was always right. Well, here's the thing. It's not that way at all when looking for a factory. In fact, the opposite is true. First of all, it's really hard to find factories. Facts. In my experience, the absolute best ones don't even have a website. In earlier chapters of this book, I talked about the industry operating as an underground network. This is particularly true when it comes to manufacturing. Factories work on small margins and they want high volume and they like to churn and burn. Generally, they're not ecstatic to work with somebody like you who is a small player. Doesn't mean you have no hope. She gives you advice. But that is fact. It feels like a very insider industry. And then she goes on to say, and this is so true. So truly large scale manufacturers in the US, not the little boutique or design houses with a few dozen units at a time, but the big players, they're from a different era and they conduct business in a very different way. You want to get in touch with them? You can't. They don't have websites. They don't have an online presence. You can't find them anywhere. If you do manage to get a hold of them, they still may want to conduct business via phone, fax, or email. They are literally running the business as though it's like 1984. I'm not kidding. She says they run it like it's in a time capsule, like it's done in 1985. She goes on to say, it's still pretty rare to have female-run factories or to have online marketing and websites for factory information. I'm working on changing that. And still, I'm attending these industry associations and trade shows where there is literally me and a ton of old school second and third generation male factory owners, which is pretty bizarre. But she is trying to change that. And with every new clothing brand and every new product, we're making it easier. So she really knows her stuff. She and I have a lot in common in the sense that we both really love to work with companies that have a bigger mission, not just like I want to create cute clothes, but they have an ideal customer in mind and they're solving someone's problem. Maybe it's adaptable clothing, maybe it's a garment for someone who's having chemo, you know, all the things. So she runs a really good business. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it. Next up, probably not a book that you've heard floated around that often. Now, you can see by the number of Post-its I have in there that I have enjoyed making notes. This is called Gold Standard, and it's written by Kim Gold, K-Y-M. And you may remember, if you're of a certain age or whatever, if you just like shopping, she is the co-founder of True Religion Jeans. So Kim Gold wrote this book. There's so many good things in it. She's very honest about how she got involved with religion, how she started, how she got her first customers, her marriage, you know, all of this stuff she talks about. She's a triplet. It's very, very interesting. And a few parts about it that I really love that struck me is after she wasn't with True Religion anymore, she was doing a new brand. And she had long-standing relationships with Neiman's, Nordstrom, and other specialty stores after working with them to buy the True Religion brand for a really long time and her other previous clothing brands. When I started, so after she wasn't with True Religion, here's what she says. When I started selling, buyers would complain to me that it was a new brand. It wasn't. It was always just me, but this has a new name. In buying my product, people could be confident that I could deliver on time and provide a good product. I'd been dealing with buyers for years with True Religion, but here I was again, knocking on doors, feeling like a beggar with a new company. That familiar feeling of being invisible was rearing its ugly head, and I didn't like it. It's like when the leader of a popular band goes solo. Now, this is how messed up the fashion industry can be, this next part, okay? So she says it's like when the leader of the band goes solo and has an album. And then there's so much politics that go on about getting, you know, these songs on the radio. She says it was a frustrating feeling, as if all the years were a moot point. I started going back to trade shows. People I had hired at True Religion ignored me. It became painfully obvious that I was being ostracized from my peers. Mickey Sills, a mutual friend, was not allowed to talk to me. Zihad, who was there from the beginning, had to sneak a hello to me. My old design assistant feared for her job after she hugged me at the show. She basically walked up to the CEO of True Religion and said, hey, why are people not able to buy my line? You better tell your CEO to stop telling people not to buy my line. And then she says, it may not have been quite like that, but that's how it felt that it was. So she ended up getting, you know, onto HSN and doing a bunch of other things, but it was like really brutal the way she was treated, honestly, and what went down with that brand. And then a few years later, she says, I find myself intrigued that I'm spending time among an all-female staff. How often the girls continually apologize for things. I'd often hear, I'm sorry I didn't enter that correctly, or I'm sorry I forgot to say that. I'm sorry. What are they so sorry about? The only time a girl should have to say that is in a conversation with some guy. I'm sorry, are you looking at my boobs again? That's the only apology needed. Having an entire company of women, I felt compelled to mentor anyone who reached out. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, et cetera, et cetera. It's important for women to know that they should be treated equally. There is a way to be a strong woman with a voice in the workplace without using sexuality or having to yell to get a point across. Now, there's so many good nuggets, and she is so honest in this book, Gold Standard. I really recommend it. I don't know her, but I wish I did. And I know I went and looked her up today, and I see that she has a new line of, I want to say ceramics and high-end luxury home goods, like just beautiful. So fascinating person, very good book, especially for old school, like fashion industry people like me. But I think it'd be good for anyone to just get her take on owning and running a business. Next book, straight up for people who make sewn products. This is the Sorcerer's Guide. Now, this book is put out by Susan Power, the same one who runs thefashionshows.com. No, thefabricshows.com. And I have been a speaker at her events for years. And before that, I bought this book for my own business, for my own line. And it really is good. It's a comprehensive resource guide for fabrics, trims, yarns, finishes, service providers, cut and sew companies in North America. I definitely recommend it. It's not too expensive. It's really a pretty good list to keep on hand. So if you're like, oh, wait, I need buckles, where should I go? Obviously, to source fabrics, there's a lot of things you can do. You can go to trade shows, whatever. But this, I think every designer should have this in their bookshelf. Okay. Next up, this is not a fashion specific book or a sewn product specific book. This is just a book you've probably read, probably been recommended to you many times. I don't know. The EMyth Revisited: Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. Michael Gerber. It was written, 30 years ago. Still super valid today. It's written in the form of a story, and it's about a woman named Sarah who makes pies. She loves to make pies. She's really good at making pies. And it goes on to tell you, like, if you are the technician making the pies all day, you're not running the business. And he shows you another way, sort of like what he refers to as the franchise model, and how you want to set up systems for everything you do so you're not the technician in the business all day. And I quote from Mr. Michael Gerber: "To be a great technician is simply insufficient to the task of building a great small business." Meaning, I'm really good at designing clothes. I'm really good at sewing clothes. I'm really good at pattern making, whatever it is that you're really good at that made you think I might want to start this business. For some of you hardcore designer types, that is not conducive to actually building a business. Okay. Being consumed by the tactical work of the business, as every technician suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure, you got to read the book to understand that part, but you understand, is being consumed by the tactical work of the business, as every technician suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure leads to only one thing: a complicated, frustrating, and eventually demeaning job. So if you went in this business to sell beautiful garments and you end up sewing them all day, that's kind of not the point. That's not a business. That's like you becoming a seamstress, right? And then he talks about, over the course of a year, business format franchises have reported a success rate of 95%, in contrast to the 50+% failure rate of new independently owned businesses. Where 80% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years, he says 70% of all business format franchises succeed. So basically, he's saying whether you are just starting your business or you have a business and it's hard, I would read this book. And he's saying, set it up with systems. Make sure you're working on the business, not in the business. It's very, very good. It's sort of cheesy and simplistic in some ways, but I'll tell you that the takeaways and the deeper understanding of what it takes to have a successful business and not just be like a good designer, it's very, very good and very useful. All right, so that's the EMyth Revisited, Michael Gerber. Last one. I love this book so much. I love it so much. All right, so anybody who loves fashion or New York City or whatever is going to love this book. I lost the cover. So what? Whatever. I don't know if you can see that. Love, Loss, and What I Wore. Oh, I love this book so much. I've given it to many of my clients. It's by Eileen Beckerman. She wrote and illustrated it. I do believe they made it into a Broadway show a few years ago. I think this came out like in the 90s, probably. Basically, she sketches adorable little fashion sketches or outfits or whatever, and she tells a little story on each page, and it's just the sweetest thing. So I'm going to read you an example. Dora's mother lent me this gown when Dora and I went to Choate School for Boys in Connecticut for the weekend. The dress was mauve satin with delicate beadwork on the bodice. It had a long train. We carried our evening dresses. We each took up 2 evening dresses to the weekend in a huge black zippered dress bag. All right. So, I mean, is that the cutest thing? Okay. She says, Dora had a real date for the weekend with a boy named Lee. We used to laugh at him because he thought he was very good looking. We didn't. And his clothes smelled from mothballs. They smelled from mothballs. He was very, very rich. My blind date was Jim. I didn't like him. I met another boy, also named Jim, and liked him. We necked a lot. So basically, she goes through her life with stories of love, stories of loss, and what she wore on her journeys. And she sketches them in the sweetest damn way you have ever seen in your life. Black dress with cutout neckline and matching bolero jacket. Harry always liked me to wear my hair off my face. I could wear my very high heels with Harry because he was so tall. I never called Harry by his name. I called him man. All right. So these are 5 books I really think you should know about, and ones that actually have gotten read in my course and journey of an entrepreneur. Let's review. We got Get It Made by Mindy Martell, a very tactical book about getting sewn products made. We have Gold Standard by Kim Gold. Just a wonderful, honest story of what it's like to start a business. Her business was in LA. The Sorcerers Guide, which is a resource guide for fabrics, trims, manufacturers. Absolutely excellent book. The EMyth Revisited. I'm sure you've heard about this before. Definitely worth your time, and it goes really fast. And this just lovely Treat Yourself to Love, Loss, and What I Wore by Eileen Beckerman. I'm sorry. I will link to all of these bad boys back on my site, fashionbrainacademy.com/5books1, like the number 1. Also, if you are someone who wants to create a profitable sewn product business, clothing, accessories, anything that's sewn, honestly, I have a course for you. And in this course, I have been running this course, I want to say at least since 2014. We've had hundreds, if not thousands, of students go through, and it really is a blueprint from A to Z for, I have an idea for a clothing line or accessories product or anything sewn, and I'm not sure what to do. Now, a lot of books and a lot of websites and a lot of experts out there are really good at explaining one part of the business. This book is my experience being a fashion designer, owning a retail store, selling wholesale, selling to Bloomingdale Sachs. It encompasses all the parts of the business side of a business. So we do cover where to find financing, how much is it going to cost you. You get costing and pricing, you get how to find a contractor, how to work with manufacturers, and then a lot on building an audience before you're even ready to sell. So a lot of places out there do a very good job in one area. This book, I believe, this course, I think, is the best one out there for the entire picture of how to make a profitable clothing line. Okay. And it goes past like live your dream, design, some of the things out there are just too fashiony for me. And I think you need to make a living. You need to treat it like a business, and you need to use your creativity therein and truly serve customers and help people in some small way with your business. And if that sounds like something that you want to learn, or if you have a clothing line that you feel like you set up kind of the wrong way, then I invite you to check it out. fashionbrainacademy.com/launch. That is where you'll find the course. Go check it out. I 100% believe that if you don't know what you're doing and you need an education on business side of launching a sewn product line, it's for you. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next time.